You got too many cooks living in the kitchen. You don't know what you've been missing.
All right. Well, welcome to At the Kitchen Table with Soraida Cross. That's me, and this is where good conversations happen, right? At the kitchen table.
Of course.
Healthy conflict. You remember those conversations growing up? Who do we have here? We have Sheriff Hunter. I was going to do the intro, but why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself, Sheriff?
I just like the fact that we're at the kitchen table. I don't have a kitchen table in my house, and so this is a new thing for me. Now, when I grew up, I had a kitchen table, but no longer do I have a kitchen table because I never make it home. So we're going to do an intros. That's what you want to do?
Yeah, just do a short little intro, tell somebody something personal about you that maybe just thinks that,
That's never
you're
part of the
just a
intro.
serious sheriff.
I am Nick Hunter. I'm Marion County Sheriff. I was appointed sheriff in June of 2023 at the end there, and then I was elected sheriff in this past November. I've been with the sheriff's office for, I've been in law enforcement for a little over 20 years. I started out with the sheriff's office, went to work for a little town called Independence, and then I came back to the sheriff's office, always said I was going to. The folks at the sheriff's office have always been my family. It's my home. So very proud to be here and represent sort of Marion County as the sheriff. Very happy to hang out with Chief Copeland and Chief Gerboth. Chief Gerboth is the newest to the table, but has been a very welcomed influence here in the city of Salem. And so a very good thing for Salem residents and residents of Marion County.
Shab, what was your favorite cereal growing up?
My favorite cereal growing up. You know what? I was a Cocoa Puff person. There was never the wrong time for a bowl of Cocoa Puffs. So I've gotten a little healthier with my cereal choices now, but definitely as a kid, we went through boxes and boxes of Cocoa Puffs.
I enjoy that fun fact. Okay, Chief Gerboth.
All right. Well, thanks for having me. I'll tell you, the kitchen table is something, it's sacred in the fire station where it's where we meet every morning. Obviously, we share meals there together. And so there's a lot that happens around the kitchen table, not just sharing meals and coffee, but really it's sharing really personal stories and how we got through incidents and advice. And we always say around the kitchen table in the fire department, there's a lawyer, there's a doctor, there's an investment banker. Everybody's got advice, right, to give you at the kitchen table. So this is really great. I really appreciate it. So Dave Gerboth, I am incredibly honored to be serving as the 43rd Fire Chief for the City of Salem. This is my 33rd year in the fire service. Most of my career, the vast majority of my career was with the City of San Diego Fire Department. I retired or left San Diego to come to Salem. I was appointed here in September 23rd of 2024. And so just crossed over my 6 months. I do like to say I'm from San Diego more than California. I get a warmer reception that way, it seems like, when I say that. But I will just say it's been incredibly welcoming here. I feel so fortunate to be in this community and then to really collaborate with the gentlemen that are here. I am the baby chief in the room right now, but I've had nothing but mentorship and support from those around me. So I appreciate it very much.
Well, thank you for being here. Favorite cereal?
Oh, it was growing up. It was Captain Crunch with Crunch Berries. Had to have the Crunch Berries. And then, man, when I was like 9 or 10, I won a contest, $100. You had to follow the captain along, on these different cereal boxes. So I think to win that $100, we probably spent $1,000 in Captain Crunch. But I remember that.
That's fondly. A great core memory. I love that. All right, and our very own City of Keizer Chief.
I got to start with the cereal because I remember getting for Christmas Captain Crunch, peanut butter Captain Crunch. It was like the best Christmas gift I could ever get.
It was wrapped?
Oh, man. It was wrapped. Yes, I remember it to this day. I was like, unbelievable. We never get this kind of cereal. It's so good. Anyways, Keizer Police Chief. Been there for 23 years at Keizer Police Department. Been the entire career was there. And by the way, 33 years in the fire service?
Yes, sir.
You didn't even look that old.
Okay. Well, the gray hair is real. I guarantee you. I didn't die that way.
So anyways, love my job. Love the community. It's great to hang out with these guys this morning. So thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
Best Captain Crunch toy prize.
Oh, all the time.
Secret decoder pen.
Yes.
Right. Whatever message you want.
Some
and then
memories.
Secret decoder pen.
Yes.
Yep.
There you go. Okay.
Don't you love how Just a question like that can take you,
Yeah.
just take you back.
Oh yeah, it's so good.
Did you have a favorite Captain Crunch? Was it the peanut butter or the Marion berries?
I was probably an original Captain Crunch person, just a good old school Captain Crunch. I don't know if
Why does that not surprise
I didn't
me?
get too far down the Crunch
Look at him.
berries.
He's like, nope, just the pure, the basics.
Well, the funny thing is now you go to the store and there's like 17 different versions of Captain Crunch. There's
There
chocolate,
is?
peanut butter. I don't get it anymore. Now I'm fine with whatever brand flakes and we'll just call it good.
All right. Well, I'm just going to just throw topics out there, like we're at the table, kind of, organic. And I think Nick wanted to look through this because he's afraid of what I might say. Imagine that. So tell us, what are the biggest misconceptions to where people think maybe with fire and police or the sheriff that you're like, that has nothing to do with me, or just people think something or a fact that you wish you could tell them that's not true?
All right. Well, one of the biggest misconceptions that exists is what you see on TV is reality.
Yeah.
Whether it be cops or the new version, which is PD Live. Understand that those programs, and I use the example of Cops. So Cops actually came to Portland and they filmed in Portland for 3 months to make one 30-minute episode. And so very much what you see on TV is sensationalized. It is similar to our newscasts in the evening. I understand everybody's got a job to do, but they're choosing what they show. They're trying to improve their ratings. And so you're generally seeing a snippet or a small part of what actually happened during the event. And so one of those misconceptions, very much so, is what people see in the media, even in social media at times, obviously, is reality. And it's not the reality of what our men and women are doing every day in both the fire world and in the law enforcement world.
Yeah, I would kind of echo that. I think you take one incident for law enforcement and you think, what do cops mainly do? Communicate and write reports, right? So we spend 90% of our time in some type of communication, whether writing, communicating, talking with people. And it's really interesting. Like you think like a cop shows up and like they're just some type of superhero. It's not true. Like we're just humans, right? We're just humans dealing with people, most people on the worst day of their life, right? And we have those repeated contacts over and over and over again. So I think it's hard. I mean, for fire and for police, like we show up when people need it. And then we try to go home and be the best version of ourselves to our families. And, after 20, 30 years in the profession, it just takes a toll. I mean, it's a tough job. But I'm thankful, and we hire the best people we possibly can to do a job. And you hope at the end of your career, you make it, right? You hope that you make it and you're a whole person. And the average law enforcement fire person lives like 5 years beyond their career. And so we're trying, I know that Nick and Dave, we're trying to do the best we can to keep our people healthy and whole so that they can live 20, 30 years beyond a profession. Right. And be there for their kids and their grandkids and different things like that. So we're trying to change the culture. I think we're doing a good job.
Yeah, you are. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I think both these gentlemen hit that. The first, the TV, the sensationalism, is that's true. And even when we go into a fire, for example, we're shown on TV, you can see these flames rolling across the ceiling and it's really bright. That's just not the case. Generally, when we're going inside a structure fire, you can't even see your hand in front of your face. It's black, it's hot. You're trying to find a fire. And so there's a lot that goes into it. But the human piece of what we do is really one of the biggest things. And that is, we are all human. And so when we go to police officers, firefighters, we see unspeakable tragedy throughout our careers, things that really humans shouldn't even see. And you see it routinely. And so we lean on each other heavily. We talked about the kitchen table, and those are, things we talk about. But, the fact that people think that, oh, these are just firefighters, police officers show up and then they go home and it doesn't affect them, that is the farthest thing from the truth. And I've been around a lot of big, grown, strong men that have been brought to tears over incidents that we've had to respond to because of how much they care about their community, how much they care about people. And that's why I think really it was a motivation for overwhelmingly most of us to get into this business, was because we wanted to serve humanity, serve the community, and care about it deeply. And so it deeply affects us. And we're making huge strides to try to, where I think coming up, it was all about being tough and just focusing on the operational aspects of the job. And now as organizations and to be in positions of leadership, a lot of our focus is really on taking care of our personnel.
Love that.
I just want to add on to one thing from the two of them. And Andrew kind of got there, but one thing, it's not a myth. It's just sometimes we don't see it. And all of our personnel are part of the community. They live here. Mm-hmm. And we've got folks that live outside of Marion County, but for the most part, all of my folks live within Marion County. And so sometimes there's almost this myth, especially in law enforcement, and Dave can talk about whether he sees this in the fire, but we forget that human side, that our personnel are our fathers, their mothers, sisters, brothers, all the rest of that. But they're also members of the community, in the fact that they're part of school groups, they're part of church groups. If you don't necessarily know either someone in law enforcement or someone in the fire service, you may think that they're sort of these superheroes at times that just come into the community to do a job and then they disappear. And the truth of the matter is they don't. And so big time community issues, whether it be funding issues or housing issues, these affect our personnel outside of when they're just doing their jobs. And so I think that can't be really kind of focused on enough, that we want to be part of that community. You can go all the way back to Peel when you talk about the police are the people and the people are the police. That's what we want to be. We want to be representative of our communities, but our folks live in these communities and deeply care about them.
Yep.
You all are amazing leaders and all funny guys in the community. What I wanted to talk about is, it seems like we talk a lot about funding, and it always goes to fire and police, and what are some possible solutions to that, do you think? Or is this just something that we've been talking about every year, like when the budget gets tight, that we're like, okay, because so much of the general fund goes to fire and police? Like, do you have your own personal opinion, or it's just something you deal with year after year?
Yes, I have my own personal opinion.
That you want to share?
Not really. No, I think we're always fighting over general funds, right? And it's always like, what's the most important thing to fund within the community? Because we have so many different problems. Mm-hmm. And law enforcement, for me personally, fund law enforcement, right? I want as many cops as I can possibly have. But we don't solve all the problems in the world. We try. And sometimes I don't really understand how we become like the catch-all for all of these different. When we first started 20 plus years ago, we weren't asked to do as much as we're asked to do today. We are asked to do over 150,000 different things throughout the day. And it's just kind of the catch-all between police and fire. Like, if there's a problem, someone's dialing 911 and they're asking us to solve every problem that's out there. And it's just not reality that we can do that. But when it comes to funding, like, if we're not funded, that resource goes away. And we are not going to be the first ones called. You have to call somebody else. If we don't have enough bodies to do our job, it's going to go to somebody else, and there isn't anybody else.
How do you feel about your budget right now with the city of Keizer?
Well, I'll tell you, I love my city council. I love my city manager. I think that we are doing a really good job of staying funded. So I feel great right now. But I'll tell you, there's there's a lot of things that are going to happen in the future within the city of Keizer where we may not have those general fund dollars to fund every position within the department. So, but today I feel great. So, and tomorrow I feel even better.
Yeah, I certainly feel that one of the biggest responsibility in this position is looking toward the future. What's the future of the organization? How do we keep it sustainable? We're on a path of not having a sustainable tempo right now with the funding that we have, our increase in service demands. I can just give you an example. In the Salem Fire Department since 2011, we actually have about 4.5 less people on duty every day, but we have 98% increase in call volume. So the call volume is doubled with less people. And how is that going to be sustainable in the future? And we just talked about our personnel and we're grinding up our personnel. We're demanding so much from them. Just keep loading on more calls, more responsibility, and how do we maintain that? At some point, there's just calls we're not going to go to anymore, and that service is just not going to, it's going to be a decrease in service levels, unfortunately, for the community. But I think that's our responsibility to look at, is there other alternative funding sources? Is there a different way to do business? And that's what we're looking at now. Fire service has been around for 200 years in the United States. And one of the sayings that you often hear is 200 years of tradition unimpeded by progress. Well, it's now at this point where we need to start looking at how we're doing business and do we need to overhaul that and just understand maybe it's just the most important emergencies we go to, and we're just have to figure that out as we move forward.
Yeah, the funding conversation is always an interesting one and a good one. I come from a good place. I have 3 outstanding commissioners that work for Marion County, and over 70% of the general fund goes to public safety. I've got 3 commissioners that are absolutely passionate and committed to what public safety looks like, but you have to get into the intricacies of what that looks like. And so for me to have an increase in my budget, that means that there is another department in Marion County that is ultimately losing money for me to have an increase. And so I think fire service and law enforcement are a fantastic group of doing absolutely, and I don't want to say the best they can, because I think my folks, and I'm sure Dave and Andrew would say the same thing, really excel with the resources that they do have. We are a figure it out group. And just because we don't have this doesn't mean that we don't get to not provide the service. We have to figure out how to provide that service. And so technology is great, but technology costs money. And we can do better with the services we provide. There's technologies out there, but those technologies, you got to figure out where in the budget, what are you going to cut from the budget to be able to now provide this? And one thing, and I know we all experience this, personnel is just not something that we can cut from the budget. I know we all need additional personnel based on the increase in call loads, based on the increased demands and the needs. But at the same time, you're again trying to balance those with how do you bring in a technology that may lighten the load or the call response on some of our folks. It is an interesting, I will tell you, until I became the sheriff, I knew some of the budget. And then you land in a position like this where you become intimately involved with all of the budget, down to, as Commissioner Cameron would say, the pennies involved in the budget, because you're constantly fighting for your folks. You're constantly trying to figure out, how do we do more with less, but how do we create some of that balance? We want to care about the investment that our folks have in these communities and give them the best tools possible to go do their job every day. But you also, in these positions, you learn how to say no, because there's a lot of things where you have to weigh all the factors. And at the end of the day, it's a no. We can't do that right now. I can advocate for you, but advocating stops at reality. And so there are some things I know I can't advocate for because I know what I'm already getting, and I know how much of the budget I'm already pulling, and I know I'm not going to be able to do those things. But I won't ever stop advocating. Like I said, I have commissioners that are willing to have those discussions. You got to build long-term plans, and I think Dave kind of hit it well here. where are we going long term? That is really, it's not where am I at in 6 months from now. It's where am I at in 5 years from now? And how do we make that sustainably so we can move into the future? That's the budget discussions as property taxes are capped and they live where they live. One's going up and one is staying the same or going down. And so when you talk about especially general funds are going down. And so that kind of conversation from the beginning, if that general fund is going down, how do we balance that? And I will take this just one chance to throw out this other piece is that my budget is not just that general fund piece. I'm also relying on the state for my community corrections. And community corrections right now, the projections are not good. We have had to freeze a number of positions that we currently have, and we're not filling those, which again means that the folks that are doing that work, they are going to do more with less. And this is something that the state needs to ultimately solve. The state needs to figure out. Community corrections is working on a funding formula from 2006. 2006. It's been reviewed multiple times, but the state has not adopted it. And so that's in the legislature right now for the state to adopt what would be the actual accurate funding formula for community corrections. And we'll see how that goes this year.
Who's pushing that? If someone was listening.
So that is, it's being pushed by community corrections. It's actually the governor has a plan that she has put into place that actually there's another piece that her projected budget picks up again, some of that shortfall. And so these are these things that we kind of talk about, the myths and everything else that people don't really know about. There's a ton that goes into it, but without some help on the state side, I'm going to lose positions. And it gets back again, right to where we were talking about. These are people that live in our community, raise families in our community, and they may be in a position where I have to do a layoff because I can no longer sustain that position. We have not had to do a layoff. I do not want to, and I will do everything I can not to. It's why we have frozen positions right now. But that means that we're going to work with less to, again, fulfill the need of doing more.
I think I can speak for both of you, John. I know I can. When we take very seriously being stewards of public funds and making sure we're as efficient as possible, and it's a day-to-day prioritization. Geez, help me out.
I got you. We know
It's a priority. It's a big priority.
Prioritization. I got you.
Day-to-day to make sure that that we are doing that and preserving the services that we can, for sure.
Well, one hot topic out there is homelessness and people without housing. And really, since COVID, the last 5 years, we've seen that big increase. How has that affected your job? If anybody's listening, how has that affected an amount of calls that you're at? Or just tell me anything, how it affects your job. I'm sure you have like 3 to 5 points.
Every day, it is an ongoing battle every day. And I think for us, we very intentionally in the city of Keizer, we try to not allow homeless camps, but we also try to provide the services alongside of that. So we talk to people that are homeless, that are moving around, that are transient all the time, and we try to do the best we can. I know that Salem, Marion County, the fire department comes out all the time too, because people are just in a state of they just need help. And so it's kind of a tragic, but it's also, it's frustrating that in the sense that we just as a community are all over the place on trying to provide services. I mean, there's 1,000 different people out there trying to do the right thing for the right reasons. And we just need to collaborate better. We're getting there. I think we're getting a better job today than we were 5 years ago. But yeah, it's just an ongoing, everyday struggle to make sure that we provide and help those who need it. And then I'll tell you, I think we all see this if you're out in the community, if you've dealt with somebody who is homeless, sometimes they don't know the help that they need. And then you try to provide it and they turn you down. And it's like, oh man, I just want this person to be whole. And they can't help themselves. And then you can't force them to help themselves. So I think that's where the struggle is, trying to figure out that balance between you need help, you don't know you need help, we know you need help, how can we get you that help? and get you to some place where you can become a whole person again. And we're just not there yet.
I think one thing that people may not know is how often we are engaging in these conversations, that we find it unacceptable. The number of folks that are homeless in our community, and this is not a law enforcement problem. This is not a fire problem. This is not a public safety problem. This is really kind of a public health issue altogether. And Soraida, some of your original questions there. What is it? What has homelessness done? We've also got nexus to increased crimes, increased theft as people are trying to support that lifestyle, increase in the addiction crisis, increase in mental health issues. All of these are stemming from the homelessness and not having proper services, not living in a healthy environment. I'm sure that Chief Gerboth could talk about fire response and what fire is seen differently to include fire responses because people are trying to stay warm in the elements. And so this is an issue that has to be addressed community-wide. There has to be some solutions. One thing, and Andrew kind of mentioned it, the last thing we want to do is move people from one location to another. I don't need to move them out of Marion County into the city of Keizer or into the city of Salem because we're not actually addressing the root problem. We're not addressing the homelessness. And so this is where we have to continue to work together as to where are the solutions. The UGM, several other places are also partnering with this. And it's really an acute issue of finding that person, kind of as Andrew was talking about, when they're ready for a change. Have they hit that point? Behavioral change comes from that influence and persuasion only works when you're ready to accept it and you are ready to say, I need a change. And then when they say that, where are those services? We do have LEAD, law enforcement assisted diversion, that's out constantly working on that. We expanded the LEAD program to have a community outreach team. I know they, because law enforcement loves acronyms, they call it the CARE team. I can't tell you what that acronym stands for right this second, but
Caring.
But basically,
they definitely care.
It's an outreach team, and so we don't want to have it that you are contacting us for law enforcement services. We want to be able to come and find you and build a different bridge, a different relationship that says, here are these services, and we want to walk along with you to provide these to get you back to the point. And where it affects the overall livability is that these. As homelessness is increasing, and I talked about drug addiction, substance abuse, or theft, these are affecting livability in our communities. So this is why the community should want to come alongside and walk alongside to solve these. It's not just helping that person that's in need, it's helping the entire community, because we don't want our businesses to show up at work and have to get someone off of their front step because they actually have a covered sort of front stoop and someone's now made that their home for the night. Feces, urination, other things like that are occurring. So we have businesses that are starting their day cleaning. One of my JSU sergeants starts out every day by walking around the courthouse, and he actually cleans up the courthouse. That's what he does as his first act every day when he comes to work. So this is really an expansive issue, a lot of topics within it. I know I'm hitting my probably supposed to keep it 3 minutes. Don't go over it. So I'm over that, and I'll pass the Chief for Gerboth and let him kind of weigh in.
I said 2 minutes, Sheriff, not
2 minutes.
3.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I think they both, it's really, homelessness is really symptomatic of often what we see most often is substance abuse and mental illness. And so when we're responding to these calls, all day long, and it's overdoses, and it's we have encampment fires, and just to go to those incidents is really threatens the safety and health, not over those individuals, but of our responders. And when we're going to encampment fire or an overdose, oftentimes we're faced with collection of needles. There's, people have gone to the bathroom there. There's definitely health effects, firefighters and police officers that are just to respond to these calls and changing the way we respond to try to protect ourselves and try to render those services.
So on that note, heavy job, heavy topics, how do you keep your team mentally healthy? What kind of talks are you having with them at the end of the day? What does that kind of leadership look like for you?
Well, I think the fire department probably does a better job than the police department because they sit around a kitchen table and have these conversations. I mean, I say that, but they really do.
Yeah.
We try to model what we're doing after the fire department. We brought in peer support, and we just try to we really try to be intentional with our chaplains and with our peer support team to address conversations live. Like when you go to a child death, right, which is probably one of the biggest things that we deal with, mentally speaking, we try to just have these conversations like, how are you doing? Check in with you. Like there's counselors available, there's peer support, there's EAP, there's different things available to help you through life. But there's also other calls out there. We had a couple officers get stabbed, in the vest. They didn't get hurt, but it's like those things are traumatic. When someone's coming at you with a knife or with a gun and you're like, oh my gosh, we can't ignore those issues. You just try to have these constant conversations and check in with them. And then what I do is I call my chaplain. I'm like, hey, go ride with them and just really, really dive into their life and see if they're doing okay. It seems to be okay. It's not the best. So I don't know. We try to have these conversations, and the more you have, and I'll tell you, the other thing that I really preach is don't just have law enforcement friends, right? You need to have a life outside of your work and have a life that's not just engulfed in cop stuff, but have good friends, faith, community, workout, whatever, hike, bike, do whatever, do something outside of law enforcement to just get your mind off of it.
I would say that, you're right. There's law enforcement, fire, very different jobs. We get lumped together often because of public safety. Huge respect for law enforcement, obviously, but they are very different jobs. And one of those benefits, I do believe, working as a crew, we do have the kitchen table. That's something that every single day that you can help decompress around that. The fire service as a whole has put a huge amount of resources into our personnel, mental health, ensuring health and wellness, not just mental, but physical as well. And peer support teams are something that really came out of the fire service. We put a lot into, and then the chief mentioned clinicians. What we've really found is culturally competent clinicians, people that understand the difference of public safety and the challenges that are there. And once we have started to shift to people that really understand that, that's really been a huge help as well. But definitely, as we've seen, the workload is doubling. We're not getting help. It is certainly takes a toll on our people. And so we definitely have put a large focus on ensuring that our personnel also have a cultural shift where it used to just be tough, take it, we'll get through it, to now actually reaching out for help and knowing that there are people there, that it's not a judgmental space at all. We've all been through it together and we're going to get through it together.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah, this is, we could probably spend the next hour or two just on this conversation. Dave said it well. So if I go back 15 years ago, we just looked at things differently. We did very much look at it as put it in a box, put it away, because we got to go to the next call. We got to move on. We got to do what we need to do. And then Andrew had mentioned it earlier that your life expectancy after you get out of public safety or law enforcement is 5 to 6 years. And how are we doing good things with our folks? That should be when you are starting the next stage of your life to truly enjoy, especially when you have had a career filled with service and you've devoted so much. Then we want you to go off and enjoy things, but we have to look at mental and physical wellness to get there. One of those myths that you kind of talked about earlier. So most people don't realize your average person experiences 4 traumatic incidents in their life. They experience 4. Your people that are involved in public safety are experiencing hundreds, sometimes multiple traumatic incidents in the same day. And so we have to focus on that. We have to make that a priority. We've even got to the point right now, there's House Bill 3929. That's moving through the legislature right now. And that is, again, that was pushed as to really make a focus on peer support. What does peer support look like? Dave said it, competent, trained peer support people. We've got too many agencies, and not necessarily here in the Valley, but across Oregon, that are putting the wrong people in peer support positions without training and are oftentimes doing more damage than they're actually doing good or helping. And so we need to look at that community and really lean into what that looks like at the community level, and help our folks to be successful. And every single individual is different. There is no one size fits all. As you experience trauma, some people will show up the next day, they'll brush it off, and they're ready to go. And they are. That's just how they process. And there are other folks that are going to need time. They're going to need services. They're going to need support down the road. And it's trying to figure out what is the best recipe to then keep the team together. And having I actually like the kitchen table conversation, and maybe we need a kitchen table now.
You got to have one.
I'm wondering whether we just, we've got the briefing table, but
Firehouse doors are always open for you guys. So we got coffee and we have a kitchen table, and you're always welcome.
And there's some collaboration. It's kind of like going to briefing is the last thing that I want to talk about when I go to briefings is I want to talk about police work. I want to talk with the folks at the table and see what's going on in their lives. Yeah. What else is going on? And that's where it becomes more of that sort of kitchen table than a briefing table. But it's kind of incumbent upon our leadership and our staff to do things like that and to get involved in each other's lives. And what are we doing? And I have a piece with my folks. I tell them, you don't have to be friends with anybody. What you have to be is professional. But if you're being professional, we build these really long-lasting friendships. And when you're talking about going into situations, whether it be on the fire side or law enforcement, where you're reliant upon the person on your right or the person on your left, we're here willing to give up our lives for each other and to ensure everybody comes home. It is mentally and physically taxing. And what are we doing? That sustainability, where are we at in the next 5 years? Well, where we're at in the next 5 years is we're taking better care of people than we're taking care of them now. That should always be a goal for us. That should always be an ongoing conversation. And again, with sort of technology and the furthering of sciences, we know better how the brain works. We know better how people experience trauma. And so putting that on the forefront, learning as we go, and how do we continue to get better at being an organization to ensure our folks get to retirement and then enjoy retirement when they get there.
I love that. I think people that are listening will love to hear that, because it really does. We all are humans, no matter. Healthy conflict, crucial conversations need to happen, and it's okay to disagree. And I'm not sure when. I feel like COVID, when we stopped really socially interacting, that there's so many in kiddos, they text, it's okay to disagree. Like, it's not bad. Healthy conflict.
Yep.
At the kitchen table.
But we've also started to lose what are conflict management skills, because we sort of have this anonymity that comes from social media. Mm-hmm. And we are saying things in social media that we would never say to someone's face if we were standing right in front of them, but we feel protected to say it somewhere else. And so we're exacerbating conflict where conflict actually never needed to live or to occur. And so...
let me clear that up. I mean, healthy conflict at a kitchen table when we're talking, or talking in person, not on social media, because I absolutely know what you mean.
You say social media, and it opens this whole door for me when we talk about social media and what it's doing to all of our careers, all of our professions. That social media, we've got to continue to better educate our kids. And we've got to continue to have these conversations with our youth about what that looks like. I'm not a big fan of social media. I know social media is important, but we've got to use it. It can be such a powerful tool when used in the correct and right way. And it can be such a powerful detriment when not regulated, and our kids are sort of just openly starting these conflicts or exacerbating these conflicts, aggravating them, and then we don't.
Not just kids.
Not just kids. You're right. We've got adults in there too, but then we're not using proper conflict management skills, which is then sort of manifesting into, again, more work for us. We've got to get upstream of that.
I'll tell you just on that, because we we are now bringing on an entirely new generation in the fire service. And one of the initiatives that we have in Salem, we're going to assume ambulance service come July 1st, right? So our ambulance personnel, they're single role personnel. They're some of them are much younger. We're looking at 18, 19, 20-year-olds, completely different generation. And so one of the trainings we're bringing in internally is conflict resolution, so that we can really bring a culture of, hey, how do we deal with we live together. How do we deal with other every day so that it doesn't turn into just a nightmare of people that aren't going to be able to get along. So we're trying to build this culture that maybe didn't exist for some, build this resiliency that just didn't happen as they grew up in this particular generation.
I love that.
Oh, I love that too, because one thing that...
Do you have that?
Well, I think one thing that's really important, and it wasn't necessarily where Dave was going, but I'm going to pull this out of what Dave just said. So for all of us that sit at this table right now, how our folks interact internally is how we can expect our folks to act externally. And so when we don't have those good internal cultures with conflict management, with it working peer-to-peer, with doing those things right, we can't expect that we're going to go out in the community and do it any different. And so I applaud Dave for what he's saying about teaching conflict management and doing those things. That is something we need to focus on within our own folk. How do we communicate? How do we resolve those issues? How do we remove the subjectivity and have an objective conversation that's really a candorous conversation about the actual issue? That's what we want our folks to do and solve problems, because we need them at their best internally to go be at their best externally.
Yep.
But that's something that leadership absolutely has to model, and leadership has to have as an expectation if we are going to best serve the communities.
Amen.
It's okay
What
to be
he said.
uncomfortable, right?
That's
It's
okay.
uncomfortable conversations,
Yes,
and we're going to
yes.
have them, and that's where it's almost like we pulled all these obstacles out of the way of some people, generations, and it's like, have we developed those skills, and so yeah, definitely working toward that.
Well, kudos
my
to
father made me very
kudos.
uncomfortable, and that's why I've kind of developed the way that I did. I give a huge credit to the way that I was raised, the values that I was raised with. I would love to see more of that.
I have this conversation often. It's what kind of adversity are we putting into our young people now? And if we remove all these obstacles, maybe that's part of the mental health issue, right? So they were not used to having tools to deal with adversity. They get to a situation and now they're not sure how to deal with it or overcome it or have that resiliency. So it's incumbent on us to actually provide that.
Amen. Okay, let's light this up. Favorite cartoon growing up? Sheriff.
Oh, good golly. Well, I don't know if it was a cartoon. Okay, cartoon Mask. Mask was my favorite cartoon show. Whatever, the trucks that like transformed into other vehicles, stuff like that.
Like Transformers?
No, it was a little bit different because I was gonna go to Transformers, but Transformers really wasn't a cartoon. That became a movie series. But I've had this conversation many times. Yes, I had Optimus Prime. And I absolutely ran around in the playground with my Optimus
Yes.
Prime, and that was the coolest
Every
thing
time
I
I
ever
leave the house, I'm like, Autobots, roll out.
had. Yep.
My kids know it. Like they
You do?
just expect
Oh, you're serious?
100%. I'm like, Autobots, roll out. Come on.
Yeah.
That's every day. G.I. Joe too. Come on. And He-Man. He-Man. By the power of Grayskull, right?
Yep.
Come on. With the
Skeletor. Yeah.
Yes. So those,
Right? What
those
did
are
he
like,
do? He put his sword up and he said, "We have the power." or something?
we have the power. Yes. So, I mean, cartoons didn't come on to like 6 or 7. Like it was just the fuzzy screen before. And then
Sunday
you had to turn it on, right? And you had to wait there Saturday mornings for the cartoons to come on.
I was going to say, I think I'm dating myself because I think I'm older than, I know I am, than anybody in this room. And that's what it was. Like, there was no cartoons like all day long, right? Like you had it for a couple hours, maybe
In the
Saturday
morning,
morning.
yeah.
You had to get up to make
Yes.
sure there's no recordings, there was
Right.
no nothing else. That was your time, right?
Yeah.
And so, you had to plan around that for sure.
Great.
Did you have a favorite
There's a bunch.
cartoon?
Well, so G.I. Joe, absolutely, right? That was the first cartoon that to me, evolved into this almost realistic
Yes.
type, right? It went from, Tom and Jerry and Bugs Bunny until this more like intense cartoon. So I would definitely echo that. Wile E. Coyote, for some reason, I don't know how much money you spent at the Acme, getting all those deliveries, but Pete in the tunnel where the roadrunner went through, but he couldn't. I don't know, for whatever reason, that seemed to always resonate. I saw those all the time.
And then you had the actual show, Flipper. Anybody watch Flipper?
The Dolphin show.
Yeah, the Dolphin show.
So Tom and Jerry was one of my favorite, and I had a stepdad named Tom and a stepdad named Jerry. So I've lived that life.
All right.
I've been there.
Sounds like we're getting a whole nother conversation.
Listen, that's the other counseling session. Yeah, it's fine.
But how often do you all work together? City of
Personally,
Keizer?
or just organizations?
The organizations.
Oh, daily, I think. I mean, Marion County Sheriff is got our back when we're going into emergencies. Same with Keizer. And so oftentimes, for sure. Every day.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I figured. I just want anybody that's listening to know, like, we are in great hands. Like, looking around, like, we're in great hands.
I'll tell you right now is probably better than any time in my career between Marion County, Salem, OSP, all organizations between fire and police services. We just collaborate really, really well together. And our folks that are on the streets doing the job, like, we just all get along.
Hands down. And our job, if we're doing our job correctly, it's succession, which means that the next generation is better than we are. And right now, the next generation is much better at collaboration than we've ever been in the Valley, especially here. And I know Dave's kind of come into this a little bit later, but it hasn't always been that way. But right now, everybody's working together, everybody collaborates together. And then as agency heads, yes, we see each other probably almost too much. There are just numerous places that we are constantly interacting, and some of the same conversations that we're having around this kitchen table are the reasons that we're interacting. That's what we're doing, whether it's a county meeting, a city meeting, or something more specifically where we're talking about how fire and law enforcement can work better together, or what are projects on the horizon that are really public safety projects, and so they involve all of us. But as agency heads, we see each other quite a lot, and again, it's not too different from what Andrew's talking about. I could not be happier with the folks that I get to work with on a daily basis. It makes me want to go to work. It makes me want to do better for this community. It makes me want to expand those partnerships and those collaborations, because I know we can do better. And these gentlemen and others here in Marion County, they have the same attitude. And it's, how do we do better for our folks, our citizens, and those we serve every day?
Yeah, I feel so fortunate to be here and to have, like, these gentlemen that they've been here much longer than I have. They are setting a standard. I'm trying to live up to it. And I will tell you that I think to the sheriff's point, as leaders, I think one of our main jobs is not building followers, it's building other leaders, and that they take what is happening now and just make it even better for the next one. So, we talked about how our budgets are strained. So, we look at ways where we're going to reduce redundancy. We're trying to be efficient and work together in so many different ways. And so I hope the public really understands that we take that seriously. There's not egos between agencies that are going to prevent service. What we're doing, I feel the collaboration that we're doing is improving service, not just for Salem or Keizer or Marion County. It's really providing and improving service for the entire Capital Region community.
I love that. Take me to church on a Monday morning, right?
Come on.
Amen.
Amen.
Okay, what are some big wins for your department, or even personally, that you want to tell anybody that's listening?
I'll tell you, the biggest win for us is having a city council that supports us, and a community that backs the police department. And we are hiring some phenomenal folks. You're talking about generationally, like making it better for the next generation. And I'll tell you, we don't waver, and we don't hire just because we need to fill a spot. We hire because of the right person for the right reason at the right time. So I think we're doing a really good job with that. And I think that the community is going to love our police department, like in Keizer, right?
We already love it.
Yeah. I mean, they're superhumans. Like they're just really good folks. And I think the goal for us, the three of us and Trevor Womack, who's doing a great job at Salem PD, is just to make sure we keep our folks healthy as they go through their career. Keep them healthy, try and pay them a decent wage, keep them in the community. I want my folks to coach. I want them to go to the school. I want them to go to lunch with their kids. I want them to just be active in their community. And I think if we can do all of that and just like support our folks in a really well and healthy way, it makes us all better. So
what about a personal win? You got a personal win?
Personal win for me?
Yeah, or your family or something that.
I'll tell you what.
Idea?
I have 4 amazing kids that I got to hang out with yesterday at Easter. We had a great time. My personal win is just I love my family, and I go home a messed up day. I go home and I'm like, I have a great family. So that's my personal win. I love it.
Thanks for sharing.
Well, I think when you look at organizationally, one initiative that I'm proud of and excited about is what I mentioned was that we're going to assume ambulance service on July 1st. And so we've hired 60 new people, the most Salem's ever hired at one time, 60 people. It's a huge lift, not just for the fire department, but for HR and IT and everybody that contributes to that. And so, starting on July 1st, we have the ambulance service. We're going to collect ambulance revenue, but no longer does that go to shareholders. That stays within the system, and it just really enhances services within the community. So excited about it, excited about the clear chain of command we're going to have, and then bring everybody. They're going to be in our uniforms. That culture of 100 and almost 68 years of history of serving this community is now going to come in that service as well. And so just really excited to enhance that level of service throughout the community.
I think internally, if I'm going to look for wins, my wins come from reading logs, reading patrol logs, and reading logs out of our jail. Those are the first thing I do every morning, and I do that 7 days a week. It doesn't matter whether I'm in the office or not in the office. Looking at the good things that our folks do over and over again in the communities, whether it's taking guns off the street, taking drugs off the street, holding folks accountable, but also very compassionately working through situations where we are getting people help through the LEAD program, getting people into a better course of life. Those are the things that are just immediate wins for me, is just to recognize our folks and the good jobs that they're doing, because we're guiding the ship. That's what we do. We guide the ships. But our line level personnel, they are absolutely the engine that drives the ship. And so seeing those are wins. We talked about another one. Another win is on peer support. How we continue to shape that and take care of our personnel. That's a huge win. I know it was mentioned here, but I consider working with our board of commissioners a win. You have folks that are outcome driven, that want to help and are willing to look at door number 2 and door number 3. It doesn't just have to be door number 1. What is the right answer? What's the right pathway? I absolutely consider that a win. And yes, these gentlemen and the other leadership in Marion County, the fact that we can work together and work towards the greater good. And it doesn't mean there's not healthy conflict, because it doesn't mean that every table that everyone just acquiesces and says, yes, I love your ideas. No, it's vetting those ideas and figuring out how do we shape a general concept to make the general concept the best it can be. That's a win for me. My personal win is my wife. My wife's an absolute, she's my rock. She's my rock star. And she is the one at the end of the day that has to put up with me, whether it's been a good day or a bad day, a rough day. Her ability to listen, let me vent it out, but her ability to also hold me accountable, tell me to stop whining or other things like that. That's what she does for me, and she is a very special one, and she's my personal win.
Yeah, she's pretty amazing. Wait, your personal win?
Personal win. I mean, family, obviously. I think, I just crossed over 6 months of being here, 1,200 miles away from where I was working before, right? But Oregon has always been this aspiration. I finally got here. My personal, at least, I hope is trying to win is being ingratiated into this community, being not just working in the community, but really being a member of this community. And I felt incredibly welcomed here. I hope that I'm giving back as much as I feel like I'm getting. And it's just, it's been an incredible journey so far.
I would just say, wrapping up, I 100% agree with our district attorney, with our county commissioners, with you leaders in the room, with
get the name out there.
Mayor Julie Hoy, District Attorney Clarkson.
Paige Clarkson.
Our commissioners, Willis, Cameron, and Bethel.
And I think you can throw the shout out at Paige too, also to Brenda Murphy, the Chief Deputy District Attorney. I think he and Paige are just doing an outstanding job.
Brendan Murphy is amazing.
Yep.
Yeah, I think all of us, and both of you mentioned it, but we're fortunate for the elected officials that we do have right now that are really supportive of public safety, supportive of the community as a whole, and doing everything for the right reasons.
Yep.
I just feel really good about it. I love me some Mayor Julie Hoy.
Very fortunate to have her.
She is great. Well, we talked about a lot of stuff today. Homelessness, some fun personal stuff.
Cereal.
Cocoa Puff.
Optimus Prime.
Optimus Prime. Autobots.
Optimus Prime is not part of every conversation we have.
Right. And I hope anyone that's listening realizes how much you all do in your own way, that you are just this big circle of care that we need. And without each one of you, we would not be the community that we have. Collaboration, conflict, there have been a lot of C words. Conflict resolution. I love it also. Thank you, Chief Copeland. Thank you, Chief Gerboth. And thank you, Chief Hunter, for being here. And good conversation happens where?
At the kitchen table.
At the kitchen table.
Hey, if I could I just want to say thank you, Soraida, and you've certainly been a big part of me being able to really incorporate myself into this community. I've appreciated it very much. You're obviously doing so much for this community. You care deeply. And so I just want to say thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you. That's very nice.
What he said. Thank you, Soraida.
Amen.
You're
Thanks.
amazing.
These are messages sometimes that don't happen and get lost. And so I appreciate you sort of bringing this and just having not a scripted dialogue. We're literally having a conversation, which I think people can appreciate much, much more. And you certainly told us to be here, and two of us were here on time. The third one, you told the wrong time to be here, so it is not his fault.
Not his fault at all.
No, I seriously, I appreciate you having this conversation, because I think it is important, and it is important for everyone to hear.
And I'm not sure, I think Chief Gerboth said it. We're all humans. Like, we're all just trying to do good. Like, we're put on this earth and we're trying to do good. And so remember that next time you see one of our amazing first responders out there. Thank them for their service.
And we can talk about human performance and the brain and all of those things if that's what you want to do. But I think
but that takes more than 2 minutes, and he had a limit.
Sheriff Hunter's way too smart when it comes to that. He would get into all his
naming brain parts and whatnot. We're keeping it light, kitchen table light.
Too much.
Optimus Prime.
Autobots, roll out. Big shout out and a big thank you to Valor Mentoring that recorded the video and audio for this podcast, Changing Lives That Change Lives. And thank you to Remodeling by Classic Homes for sponsoring this podcast. Thank you so much for joining us at the kitchen table with Soraida and friends. Please follow us on social media. You can find this podcast on Apple, Spotify, and wherever you listen to your podcasts.